My studio apartment in Seoul wasn't huge, but without Dubu, it felt like an empty stadium. Every time I came back from classes and stepped into the dark room, I habitually checked the floor, expecting a white fluff ball to come wagging his tail to greet me. But there was nothing. I sat on the edge of my bed and opened the gallery on my phone. On the screen, Dubu was smiling brightly in the grass, unaware of a thing. But in my room, only the ticking of the clock filled the air. His yellow drug cushion, the one he loved so much, sat empty in the corner. I traced his face on the screen and whispered.
우리 두부는 어디 있을까?
Only my own voice echoed back in the silent room. Was he eating okay? Was he cold? Just imagining him wandering the streets made my heart drop.
우리 두부는 잘 있겠지?
My nose stung with tears. I hugged my phone to my chest and collapsed onto the bed, letting the silence swallow me. A few days later, I was walking home after a late tutoring gig. It was midterms, so between the library and work, my body felt heavy, like wet cotton. I was peeling the wrapper off a convenience store samgakkimbap when I heard a rustling sound coming from a dark alleyway where the streetlights didn't reach.
저게 뭐지?
I stopped and squinted into the shadows. Huddled between some old cardboard boxes was a tiny creature. It was a baby Bengal kitten. Her fur was soaked from the rain, and she was so skinny I could see her ribs. She didn't even have the energy to hiss at me. She just looked up with terrified, shaking eyes. That look wasn't unfamiliar. She looked exactly like Dubu did when I first brought him home. Scared of everything, hiding in the corner. I didn't hesitate. I crouched down and locked eyes with the little girl.
야옹아, 참 배고프고 힘들었겠다. 일단 병원으로 가자.
I was about to take off my hoodie to wrap her up, but she was so small, I just scooped her up gently with both hands. Her faint body heat seeped into my palms. I ran like crazy, terrified the tiny warmth in my hands might fade away. Breathless, I burst into the animal hospital Dubu used to go to. The familiar smell of disinfectant and bright fluorescent lights hit me.
선생님, 길에 아기 고양이가 혼자 있길래 걱정이 돼서 데려왔어요.
The vet carefully took the limp kitten from my hands and placed her on the metal table. As he listened with his stethoscope and checked her condition, his expression grew serious. I clenched my fists and swallowed hard. Please, just survive. After a moment, the vet let out a sigh of relief.
아이고, 이 고양이 하마터면 죽을 뻔했네요. 당분간 신경 많이 써주셔야 할 것 같습니다. 오늘은 병원에서 피하 수액을 좀 놓겠습니다.
Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. Thank God. The crushing sense of loss I felt when Dubu disappeared almost came crushing down on me again. My legs felt weak.
이제 집에 가자, 야옹아.
I looked at the small, fragile life on the table and swept a hand over my chest. It was past 1 a.m. when we got back home after the treatment. I pulled out Dubu's soft microfiber blanket and made a spot in the warmest corner of the room. The kitten, still weak, curled into a ball as soon as I set her down. I opened a can of wet food I bought at the convenience store and mixed in a little warm water. As the savory smell filled the room, her nose twitched. I gently pushed the bowl right under her nose.
자, 밥 먹자, 야옹아. 얼른 먹고 기운 내야지.
As if responding to my voice, she slowly opened her eyes. Then, she struggled up and began to devour the food. Chop, chop, chop. The sound of her tiny tongue hitting the bowl was the best sound I'd heard in weeks. After eating her fill, she looked up and stared at me.
야옹.
It was a raspy, tiny cry, but it sounded like thank you. I carefully reached out and stroked her forehead with my index finger. Beneath the rough fur, I felt a warm pulse. My empty room and my empty heart felt like it was being filled with a little bit of warmth. It was midterms at school. I was sitting on a campus bench, sipping an iced Americano, staring blankly at the condensation running down the cup. My best friend, Hyung-mi, walked up with a textbook tucked under his arm. He sat down next to me and adjusted his glasses. Usually, he'd start with a joke, but seeing my dark expression, his voice was careful.
두부 찾았어?
I chewed on my straw for a second before shaking my head.
아니,
A heavy silence followed. I had been distracted taking care of the kitten at home, but being back on campus brought all the thoughts of Dubu rushing back. This lawn was his favorite walking spot. Hyungmin patted my shoulder.
조금만 더 기다려보자. 전단지도 여기저기 붙이고 당근에도 올렸으니까 연락이 올 거야.
Hyungmin had helped me put up flyers just a few days ago, sweating more than I did. Grateful for his heart, I forced the corners of my mouth up.
그랬으면 좋겠다. 고마워.
I took a sip of the watered-down coffee. It tasted bitter as it went down. Coming home meant someone was waiting for me again. The kitten was putting on weight, making the name Yaongi seem a bit silly now that she was getting chubby. The ribs that used to poke out were now hidden under glossy, soft Bengal fur. I turned on my desk lamp to study. Not even 10 minutes after I picked up my pen, Yaongi hopped onto the desk.
야옹아, 아빠 공부해야 돼.
Ignoring my nagging, she plopped down right in the middle of my open textbook. Then she started grooming herself, her tail tapping against the back of my hand. It was warm, the light spreading over the desk, the soft fur against my skin. As she started to purr and closed her eyes, I couldn't help but stop studying to scratch under her chin. The peace I used to feel when Dubu slept on my lap returned, just a little bit.
너가 건강해져서 다행이다.
I whispered to myself, stroking her back. The weather was unusually nice that day. The sky, usually gray with fine dust, was a brilliant blue. I opened the first floor window wide to air out the room while I vacuumed. The spring breeze rushed in, making the air fresh.
야옹아, 너도 신선한 공기가 좋지?
Leaving her there, I went to the veranda to hang up some laundry. Hanging a t-shirt and cleaning the bathroom took maybe 10 minutes, tops. When I came back into the room, something felt wrong. Usually she would run over at the sound of my footsteps, but she wasn't there.
야옹아?
Under the bed, under the desk, inside the closet, she was nowhere. A chill ran down my spine. I slowly turned my head to look at the open window. The corner of the old mosquito screen was torn open, flapping in the wind.
안 돼.
My heart felt like it plummeted to the floor. I didn't even put my shoes on properly before I burst out the front door. I ran around the neighborhood like a madman until the sun set and the streetlights flickered on. I called her name until I tasted blood in my throat, but there was no answer.
야옹아! 야옹아!
I crawled on the ground to look under parked cars and searched behind every AC unit, but I couldn't see even a glimpse of that Bengal tail. My breath was ragged and my legs were shaking. The nightmare of the day I lost Dubu overlapped with this moment like deja vu. If only I had closed the window. If only I had fixed the screen earlier. Guilt stabbed at my brain. My legs gave out and I collapsed under a telephone pole.
야옹이마저 지키지 못하다니. 진짜 너 왜 이러니?
First Dubu, and now Yaongi. I felt like I didn't deserve to take care of anything. Walking back to my empty house, my shadow looked unusually long and pathetic. I couldn't sleep a wink. With swollen eyes, I just stared at the ceiling. Outside, sparrows were chirping, but my room felt like the quietest, saddest place on earth. The weight of being alone again crushed my chest. That's when it happened. I heard a very familiar, impossible sound coming from outside the window.
뻥! 뻥!
Did I hear that wrong? Was one hallucinating? I held my breath and listened. Again, louder and clearer this time.
뻥! 뻥!
My heart started racing. I sprang out of bed and threw the curtains open. Outside the first floor window, bathed in the morning sunlight, stood the Bengal cat I had searched for all night. She was standing there with her tail held high, looking proud. And right next to her, his fur was matted and dirty, but there was no mistaking that white fluff ball wagging his tail like a propeller. It was my Dubu. I didn't even think about putting on shoes. I kicked the front door open and ran out barefoot.
두부야!
My voice trembled. Dubu whimpered and leaped into my arms. I collapsed onto the ground, hugging the dirty little guy tight. The familiar smell, the warmth, the rough tongue licking my face. It wasn't a dream. It was really my Dubu. Then I felt something soft brushing against my leg. Yaongi was rubbing her body against me, purring loudly. In that moment, I realized she hadn't run away. She had gone out to find Dubu, as if to repay me for saving her. Hot tears streamed down my cheeks. I held Dubu in one arm and pulled Yaongi close with the other. My arms were full of the most precious warmth in the world.
고맙다, 야옹아.
My small room wouldn't be empty anymore. We were all together now.